I just felt like my mojo had gone. 2024 was probably our toughest year. I definitely had founder fatigue.
Hello everyone and welcome to Flower Press, a series where we chat to inspiring leaders, creators and visionaries, all whilst arranging beautiful blooms. Today, I am super lucky to be joined by Cathryn Wills, the founder and CEO of Sans Beast, a design-led brand that create beautiful vegan and cruelty-free handbags and accessories. Hello, Cathryn.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Love flowers.
Great. And I've heard just now that you were a florist. That was your very first job as a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I don't think I was called a florist, but I was definitely a part-timer in pots and petals.
Perfect. Like
When gyp and roses were the thing.
you know what? They're making a comeback.
Totally.
So you're perfect. I would love to know how Sans Beast came about.
Yeah, sure. So I've worked in fashion retail for a long time,
Yep.
like for decades.
Yes.
And I definitely never thought that I'd be my own boss, start something myself. I think I thought it was a nice pipe dream, but that it wasn't really something I had the funds or the or definitely motivation, but belief maybe to do it. Hence working for like 3 decades in retail before I did anything myself. And Sans Beast came about because I hit an ethical crossroads in my career. I'd stopped eating animal products, I'd gone vegetarian and I was on my way to going vegan. The job that I was in had just come to a natural end for me. It felt like I'd done, like it was Groundhog Day, I guess, for me.
Yep.
So I quit a fairly big job, very big job.
Very big.
Very big job. And I had a pretty long notice period, so it's not like you can quit and just storm out and start something fresh. I had a long notice period. I eventually left after 6 or whatever months, and I consulted for a while. I considered going and working for someone else, and then I thought, as someone who didn't want to work with animal products anymore and was certainly identifying as vegan, I thought it was the only thing I could do is to start a business with my own vision in mind. I don't think I could. I think I initially kidded myself that I could convince a board to all go vegan and start doing vegan products, and I thought that ain't gonna happen. I know. So
You love a challenge, so you never know.
yeah. So yes, I established Sans Beast in 2017, and then we launched in March 2018.
So you transitioned from this very serious corporate job. Do you want to talk to me a little bit about what that role was? So I know your background and it's incredible, but I think it'd be really interesting for our audience to also hear.
So, I've worked in several retailers and across a few different categories, but my most recent role before starting Sans Beast was managing and creative director at Mimco. And I'd been with the brand for about 12 years, 10 years as a sort of a permanent person, 2 years freelancing with the original founder of Mimco.
Right.
My background is design trained. I studied at RMIT, fashion design, and when I came out of RMIT, I joined Country Road as a knitwear design person.
Yep.
Well, actually as a product developer, and eventually became knitwear design manager there. But yes, my role at Mimco was initially freelance designer, and then design manager, and then creative director, and then I took on the commercial side of things as managing director.
And so, the crossover, I guess, in terms of industry and experiences would have been, it was obviously incredibly invaluable and a natural place to start Sans Beast from. What were the things that you were able to take from your experience at Mimco and Country Road, lessons learned that you're able to then apply?
I think the main one is the organisational foundations of a business, and I guess the understanding of how important clear storytelling is, and that means in words, as in written word, in spoken, in visuals as well.
Yep.
Like understanding how important it is to present a holistic, clear vision for a brand. But as far as the business goes, having a marketing calendar, having clear budgets in mind, like all those tools that I learned over the years from, some great mentors over the years, as well as just learning by mistakes that I made, that's, I think, allowed us to start the business looking a lot bigger than what it was.
Yeah.
Looking polished, looking organised, being organised. Am I stealing too many roses from
No,
your station?
100%. Keep going. There's more over here.
Okay.
And actually, I feel like you're almost done. I need to go a little quicker. It's so interesting that you say that, because it's so true. When I feel like I've only had a marketing calendar. The business has been around for 11 years now.
Yeah.
I've only had a marketing calendar for maybe the last 3 years.
Yeah, right.
Before that, I
love a marketing calendar.
Yeah, so do I now. It would have been helpful at the start.
Sorry, we should have a chat about that back in the old co-working days.
We really should have. We really should have.
Because I had gaps in my knowledge. I mean, what I learnt in those co-working days was really so helpful for me, because I hadn't been a small business owner before. I hadn't worked in a small business really. So to learn things sort of at that grassroots level was really important for me. I understood how this, how this worked.
Yes.
But down here, not so much. So, there's benefits to both.
So I should just very briefly mention, Cathryn and I met as warehouse neighbours in an e-commerce co-working space called Click Collective, which was a great environment to start an e-commerce business because we could all learn from each other in a way.
Definitely.
And so I could look down the hall into Cathryn's warehouse and see very clearly that despite only having launched her business sort of at that time, it was a professional, well-oiled, impressive business.
Thank you. That's very
It really
kind
was.
to say.
And Daily Blooms down the other end of the hallway was just
That was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
Chaos everywhere.
I loved walking into that very rough and ready warehouse of
Very rough.
Kensington and seeing all your flowers there, and sort of first thing in the morning when the flowers had been delivered. I think environment is a really important part of a business. So even though we had that little storage room, I made sure that we painted it white before we moved in there. We made it, put the curtains up. We made it into a little showroom, even if it was freezing in winter and boiling in summer. It was like, this is going to be the Sans Beast home. It's like a precursor to a shop at some stage.
It was, and I think the significance of that is nobody else actually did that to their space. There was just a bunch of warehouses and then Cathryn's beautiful Sans Beast.
I think they started doing it after that.
After
It started making an effort.
we all saw it. We're like, oh, that's what we should be doing, right? You were like the grown-up with a bunch of children sort of looking on.
Hardly.
So just to touch back on, I guess, coming from that corporate environment, being the managing director of Mimco, being an important person in the world of fashion, to then, not to say you're not an important person now, because I know you are, but to go from that position to then starting your own brand where you're the founder and CEO, but you're also assistant and
the DHL gal.
The DHL.
Yeah, totally.
How did that go?
It's very humbling. That's the best word for it. It's incredibly humbling, and the industry forgets about you because naturally you realise that a lot of the things that you were invited to were because you brought big business attention to whatever you were invited to, and when you're not in that big business anymore, suddenly you're not as relevant. So there's a lonely period, there's a massive period of self-doubt, identity crisis, all sorts of things. But then you have to build yourself up again and realise that all those things are ephemeral and all those things don't really matter and they don't make you who you are. And I'm really grateful for that experience. And also, I've got great friends and best friends that I've made in that corporate retail space, if you want to call it that. But the people that I've met that have started their own business, started something from nothing, built something from nothing. I'm so grateful for those relationships that I don't think I would have had access to when I was with Mimco, because it's a different orbit that's going on.
Yeah.
And there's this whole orbit over here, and there's a bit of Stroll Street over here. There's a little bit of, what are we doing with our warehousing or cash flow issues? All sorts of things in the small business land that I'm so, I feel privileged that I've been able to be a part of that.
Yes.
And it's been painful, definitely, at times, but some really great people that I've been able to connect with and lean on, and hopefully allow them to lean on me for conversations as well.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled that I've had that chapter, that I'm still in that chapter, I suppose.
Well, I feel, yes. Well, I mean, you are still in that chapter, but also I've just heard that you've had a whole week of keynote speaking engagements. So it feels like your dip into that chapter was somewhat brief, but which is incredible and a testament to the brand that you've built. Sans Beast, it's a vegan, cruelty-free brand, and that's at the very core of, I guess, why it was even established.
Yes.
What does being an ethical brand mean to you?
For me, it is, I've needed the business to be commercially viable because otherwise I can't build a platform. I can't have a voice if people don't know about us. And in order for people to know about us, we need to sell things to them. And fashion is a great vehicle to get that voice out there. But I feel that you can do that with manufacturing where people are paid appropriately, a living wage, with materials that haven't hurt living sentient beings.
Yes. Yep.
And so I think for me, there's a real joy in building something that is based on responsible business, based on doing things with thought and with mindfulness and with care and with respect. And to show the world, even if our world is still a little bit, small but growing, to show people that that is entirely possible. To have charity alignments where we, make sure that we're giving money away, irrespective of whether we're profitable or not. We've given money to Edgar's Mission Animal Sanctuary since day one. And we had one tree planted a year later, Sea Shepherd at the same time. I'm looking at another one at the moment. I think it's, we have to be making sure that we're providing a living for ourselves, for myself and my partner John, for our small team, but also that we're providing money to those that are doing good in the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's all those things. It's the manufacturing, it's the materials we use, it's the charity partnerships that we're associating ourselves with, and then it's the words that we share via our storytelling.
Yeah.
I don't want the brand to be preachy because, for whatever reason, humans don't like being preached to.
Yeah.
But I think if you tell people stories and take them on a journey of why you've done what you've done and where you're going, more and more people come along on that journey with you. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think proof's in the pudding, right? It's what you guys do. And I guess that's an ingredient into your popularity. In my time at Daily Blooms, the business has been around for 11 years now. I think what our customers are interested in, and I guess their awareness of where products are coming from, who's making the products, what are they wrapped in, how are they being delivered. I think there's just a growing appreciation of wanting to know those pieces of the puzzle when shopping with brands. Have you experienced that?
Yes, I have. I think for us, we've always attracted a couple of different we've attracted customers for different reasons. So those that are vegan in their diet and in their way that they view the world, i.e. they don't want to consume animal products at all, have found us quite easily and have purchased from us. And we've been transparent with where our materials come from and what our materials are made of. And then there are other customers that aren't necessarily vegan, that just love the look of the product and love that it's an ethical brand, female founded, all those things. I think that people are asking more questions. The more people that become aware of us, they're asking more questions about the materials and certainly about living wages in the factories. When it comes to materials, though, I think it's great that people are asking more questions. I think it's great that there's more education out there. But I do think with the limited attention spans that seem to be happening amongst society,
myself included,
the world over, people grab onto little news bites and that becomes their centre of knowledge, and it's very shallow.
Yeah.
So, there's the whole, okay, so it's vegan leather, so it must be plastic. Well, yes, there are polymers in there, and yes, it is a recycled synthetic that is the substrate of the material, and then there's semi-recycled material on the surface. But did you know that animal leather has also got polyurethane on the surface of it, and there's chemicals and all the rest of it? And did you know that synthetic materials recycled synthetic materials have got a lower environmental impact than cow leather. And often, I think people do want to know the information and they do want to ask those questions, and I welcome those questions, but all I would say is it's a longer explanation for them. And sometimes people don't, they just want simple things like, where do your flowers come from? Okay, cool, I can tick that box and I'm going to buy them.
Yes.
Versus the whole story of water use and, air miles or truck miles or kilometres, I should say. I think there's, supply chain is complex.
Yes.
It's really complex. Yeah. And often people get bored listening to those things. They just want to know, are you a good brand? Are you a bad brand? Are you a good person? A bad person?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy from you.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, there are actually so many businesses out there or enormous companies out there that say, we're sustainable or we're ethical.
Yes.
And they just put it out without any, colour around it. And so I guess to your point, when you're being a little nuanced in your approach.
Look, I think I'm a very straight talker, and the intention of our writing and talking has been to be straight talking. I don't think I'm ever going to change as a person on that front, but interestingly, I'm not sure everyone wants straight talking, because I think about the brands that are doing well and they're fast fashion, they're not being transparent, and they're still very popular.
Yes.
So I'm in two minds about, I guess there's those that sort of care and there's those that really don't give a hoot about provenance. I still think it's important. For me, it's important. At the end of the day, it's my brand. I decide what stories we're going to tell, and I'm going to be blunt and say, yes, it is a synthetic. Yeah. And let me tell you about the impact of a synthetic versus the impact of a cow leather. Yeah. Let's talk about the impact of wool and silk and all the animal products, and then they probably start getting scared of the tone that I take. They run away really quickly. I can't stop talking to this scary lady.
I love it. We're jumping all over the place here. How is yours coming along?
I liked that yours was going that way, and then now I feel like sort of geometry-wise, I needed to go a bit more triangular.
I love it.
So I'm happier with that now.
Great.
So thanks for that inspiration.
Oh, good. I don't know how mine's going, but hopefully okay. One thing we briefly chatted about before the cameras started rolling, when we were doing a bit of a warehouse tour, because Kath hasn't seen our new warehouse, is I guess the running of the business side. And I would love to, hear your thoughts again on camera as to how you balance the creative side of Sans Beast with the commercial side, the being the CEO, setting budgets, dealing with shipping companies, all the business side of running a business alongside the creative.
The creative. Well, I mean, I do think the creative is part of running the business.
Absolutely.
And it's not just creative in product, it's creative in marketing, it's who we're going to collaborate with, or what our plans are for the season, how our website's going to look. That's a really big part of the business.
Yeah.
But yes, the administration of budgets, dealing with the accountant. He wouldn't like me saying dealing. Talking to the accountant.
Why does everyone always say dealing?
No, he's lovely. He's very helpful.
You're dealing with the accountant and the bookkeeper.
I just have to compartmentalize my time. I just have to be really clear about, I'm going to work on budgets this morning. This afternoon I'm going to work on a lookbook for our next collection. Tomorrow morning I'm just blocking out and I'm going to work on Series 16 range plan and what we're planning on, designing.
Yep.
And then in between, I'm WeChatting the factory.
Wow.
I am a bit of a machine. I say that and it sounds vain if I say that, but there's downsides to being a machine. The brain doesn't necessarily stop, and it's irritating for people around me because they're like, Jesus, just take a breath, man. Sorry, I said Oops, a daisy. It's just constant, I would say.
Yeah. So I can attest to you are a machine, because I have seen you working in your warehouse and what you are able to achieve in such a small amount of time it boggles the mind. But it's really interesting to hear that you actually say you compartmentalize and you'll go in and you'll do project X or work on job Y.
I don't think I always succeed with that. I just as much as anyone, I can lose focus and I can flip from thing to thing. Yeah. But then I just have to rein myself in and say, no, we're doing this for 2 hours, or we're, whatever. I have to block time out. Yeah. Because it is quite a diverse remit that I have. I will say that I don't think it's necessarily scalable long term for me to keep doing the breadth that I'm doing in the business. And I genuinely am and do think about structure and how we can resource the business so I can be in a helicopter and strategically drive it forward rather than being in the weeds every single day.
Yep.
I don't think that's healthy for anyone.
No.
Yeah.
But it's also the balance, right?
Yeah.
To understand when you can step back and let others come in and support, and when you actually need to know every single little detail.
Yes.
And it is that ebb and flow.
Yes.
Which I'm with you.
And, look, I've got, John, my partner, works in the business with me. Sometimes, well, most of the time he doesn't want to. But I have to say, like, John does keep things going at home. Like, he makes all the meals. He makes sure that I'm watered and fed. And I think that's a really important part of remaining driven
100%.
and focused and able to, keep going.
Yeah. And John is like a ray of sunshine. When we were
I know.
in the co-working space and we'd see him riding his bike up and down.
I know.
It's just gorgeous.
Yes, he is.
Absolutely gorgeous.
He is. I do need to, he would like me to sack him though and find someone else to do his job. And I'm working on that. I think we've skipped performance management and we're going straight to sacking.
So I feel like we're so close to having our flowers done, and so I feel like I should be wrapping up the questions. But I just really quickly would love to touch on social media. And I think the way you have done social media for Sans Beast has been incredible. In particular, the videos that I love, the little reels that I love, are where I see you popping up, talking in detail about your products, about your bags, about the zips, about the leather that you're using. Is it olive or
apple skin?
Apple skin.
Yeah.
I cannot look away from that. Has that been, what would you say are, I guess, your marketing, I don't know, what's worked best for you and for Sans
They
Beast?
work very well, and as I was saying to you off camera earlier, that 2024 was probably our toughest year. And yes, the economy's been brutal and we all know that, but I definitely had found a fatigue, and I'm not, embarrassed to say that. I think it's important to identify that for business owners, because
100%.
it's a term that I'm now like holding on to, recognizing that I went through. And, I had stopped doing consistent talking to camera. I'd stopped, not stopped innovating in the marketing space, but I just felt like my mojo had gone.
Yep.
So this year we've been very consistent with me doing product talk-throughs, and it's been so well received.
They're
like,
so
surprise, surprise, whether it's me or whether it's someone else. Right now it's me. But I think it's because people, A, they want to hear from the business, and B, it's a great, without having stores, like that's the way to show them the product, and to give them the details.
Yeah.
So it's a selling tool, it's a marketing tool, it's a way to connect to our community.
Yeah.
So yes, that's been very successful.
It doesn't surprise me because I love them. I see them pop up and
Thank you.
Awesome.
I've got to do one today, actually. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
God, busy day for you.
Yes.
So I suppose, almost to wrap up, what's next for Sans Beast?
Well, I've got some work to do on team, because, that trenches in the weeds resource thing is definitely like a cloud that hangs over me. Regionally or geographically, the US is a big focus for us. We're seeing a lot of growth in the US.
Okay.
And it's not like we've really done that on purpose. It's not like we've spent a lot of money to make sure we drive the US. I think just word of mouth, some advertising, but certainly it's spread quite organically.
Yeah,
and I think with some extra love and some extra resource, aka money, we can grow in the US. There's a couple of categories that I want to explore. I'd like us to be doing leather jackets at some stage. So that's sort of a project on the side.
Wow.
And then at some stage, shoes, but that's like at least a year away.
Yeah, right.
People are asking us for shoes, and shoes are not easy. And having the experience of having done that, it's amazing how many, people, what about this? What about this? What about this? And sometimes when you know how all these things work, and you know where all those factories are, and you can make it happen, sometimes knowledge is like a really, it can be, I'm glad that I've got the knowledge, but it can be a deterrent, I guess. It can sort of stop you. You're like, I can see how many ways it can go wrong.
Yes.
I.e. ignorance can be bliss.
Totally.
But it can also be very bloody expensive, and I just don't want to go down that path. So there's a few categories, a little bit of team, and then some geographic spread.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Wow. That's big.
Yeah.
And our final question, if you could give a bouquet, a bunch of flowers to anybody in the world, who would it be and why?
I was going to say to my friend in New York who's going through a bit of a tough time at the moment, so I'd probably send her some flowers. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I
nice.
could just
To
say
cheer
Sean,
someone up.
but to cheer someone up, and I think getting flowers, unexpected flowers outside of events and birthdays and things is a really lovely thing to receive.
Yeah.
Hope John watches this and he knows if I'd like to be sent flowers occasionally.
Oh,
Yeah.
John.
I know.
If you want to be fired, maybe that's the key.
Indeed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kat.
Thank you.
Now, how do people find out about Sans Beast?
We're on Insta, sans.beast, TikTok, sans.beast, I think the same on Facebook, and then obviously sansbeast.com for our website.
And they can pop into
They can pop into our studio in Brunswick.
Yep.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yes.
Fallon Street, 62 Fallon Street in Brunswick. And yeah, you can shop and buy and try on, etc.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.